All right, everybody, welcome back for another deep dive.
Yeah, great to be back.
This one, I think, is going to be really interesting for folks out there, especially all of our listeners who are, in the construction world or working with cranes or maybe thinking about, becoming a crane operator.
Absolutely. Yeah,
Okay.
if you're a safety professional or a crane operator or aspiring to be one, this is definitely something you want to pay attention to.
So we're talking about crane safety,
Right.
and more specifically,
The qualifications.
qualifications. Yeah, who's actually allowed to work on these things, even when it comes to like maintenance and repair.
And we're talking specifically about OSHA's standard 1926.1429, which covers cranes and derricks in construction.
Okay.
And what's really interesting about this is, you might think it's just you have to be a certified operator to touch a crane.
Right.
But it's not quite that simple.
So there's a catch.
Yeah, there's a little bit of a twist here.
Okay, tell me more.
So 1926.1429A, this section actually allows for maintenance, inspection, and repair personnel to operate a crane under very specific circumstances.
Not just anybody.
Right, not just anyone can hop in the operator seat.
Yeah.
This is strictly limited to, tasks that are directly related to the maintenance, the inspection, or like the performance verification of the crane.
I see. So it's not about, letting the mechanic swing loads around the job site. It's more about letting them, test the brakes they just fixed or something like that.
Yeah, exactly. That's a perfect example. And there are two ways that these personnel can actually be qualified to do this, even if they don't have like a full operator certification.
Okay, interesting.
So the first way is if they're directly supervised by a certified operator.
Someone's got to be right there with them.
Right. Someone who meets all those requirements that we see in 1926.1427. So they have to be a fully qualified certified operator.
Gotcha. So even if they're experienced with repairs, they can't just go solo on this. Why is that so important, though?
Well, think about it. Even seemingly simple tasks on a crane can have, huge consequences if they're not done correctly.
Right.
So having that certified operator there means you have someone who can, anticipate potential problems, make sure procedures are followed precisely, and really importantly, intervene if anything starts to go wrong.
Yeah.
It's just that added layer of safety.
Makes total sense. And you mentioned there was a second way to be qualified.
So the regulation also allows for operation by personnel who have what they call familiarity with the specific crane.
So it's got to be more than just knowing which lever does what. Right.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, what does familiarity actually mean in practice?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. It's about a deep, thorough understanding of that specific machine.
Okay.
Its limitations, its quirks, its potential hazards.
So really knowing it inside and out.
Exactly. So things like knowing how to read the load charts for that specific model, understanding how its safety devices work, being able to spot potential problems during a pre-shift inspection, that kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's really critical knowledge.
Okay, so let's put this into a real world situation. Let's say I'm a safety manager on a site.
Okay.
How would I make sure that anyone who needs to handle a crane, even for just a few minutes,
right,
for maintenance,
they
actually meet these qualifications?
That's a great question. And it actually leads us to another really important part of 1926.1429, which is Section B.
Okay.
And this is where they introduce the concept of a qualified person.
Right. Qualified person sounds even more general than just being qualified to operate.
You're right.
What's the distinction there?
So being a qualified person in this context, it goes beyond just knowing how to run the crane.
Right.
It's about having the knowledge and experience to safely perform the specific task that you're doing on that equipment. So for example, if you're inspecting a crane's braking system, being a qualified person means that you actually understand that specific type of braking system.
Interesting.
You know how to test it properly, what to look for.
Right.
It's specialized knowledge.
Okay, so whether someone is deemed qualified because they're under the watchful eye of that certified operator or because they've got that deep familiarity with the crane itself, they still need to meet this kind of higher standard of qualified person for the specific job they're doing.
That's exactly right. And I think it's fascinating how those two paths to being qualified to operate, either through supervision or through familiarity, they both tie back to this underlying principle of being a qualified person.
It is interesting. Yeah, it's almost like two different, sets of skills that can kind of lead to the same outcome.
Right.
Which is safe and competent work on this really, potentially dangerous piece of equipment.
Absolutely.
So for our listeners out there, even if you're not a certified crane operator, there are these very specific situations where you might be allowed to operate a crane, but they are tightly controlled by OSHA.
And to that point, I think it's really important to remember why these regulations exist in the first place.
Yeah.
We've talked about who can operate, but let's not lose sight of why.
Right.
Think about the potential risks when someone operates a crane without the necessary qualifications, even if it seems like a simple task.
Right.
I mean, we're talking about immense weight complex machinery, the potential for serious incidents, injuries or even fatalities.
Yeah, it's not something to take lightly.
No, absolutely not.
Well, this has been really interesting.
It has.
I think it's such an important topic, especially, for anyone working on these job sites or thinking about getting their operator license.
Absolutely.
I would encourage everyone to go check out the full OSHA regulations.
Yeah.
It's worth the time to really understand all the details.
Knowledge is your best safety tool.
That's a good one. I like that. And this episode has been brought to you by Safety One Source, your resource for staying informed and safe on the job. So see everybody next time.
See you later.
Bye.